All right, Bobby, nobody wants to look at you looking at twin suns.
So, welcome Star Wars fans to a new kind of video. We've been teasing this one for a little while, and as we did the little music intro, of course, we're just kind of giving you guys a few seconds to sign on and log on to this video real quick. So, as I said, this is a new kind of video. We've been teasing it for a little while. This is our Character of the Week Spotlight video. So, as you guys may have gathered, we are going to be featuring Luke Skywalker, arguably the character that is in the spotlight for the majority of Star Wars, second to Anakin Skywalker, also known as Darth Vader. This is something I've been looking forward to. I like to watch informational videos on many fandoms that I'm a part of, just to kind of learn the lore behind it, and it's going to be a real privilege getting to get to talk to you guys about a lot of the lore behind some of our
favorite characters
of the saga. We'll even cover some of the cool legends highlights in for these characters as well. Not all of them, because when I was researching it earlier today, there is just too much. It's like looking for a needle in a needle stack, as far as information goes with Luke and Legends.
But we will cover some of the legends.
Most of the really cool, important stuff, like Mara Jade and
no spoilers. We'll get there.
Maybe something else that is also super cool. But
let's get into it.
Getting right along to it, Luke Skywalker was born on 19 BBY to Padme Amidala and Anakin Skywalker at the end of the Clone Wars on the asteroid of Polis Massa. Now, Polis Massa is just some little asteroid out there. It's just an outpost installation, and Obi-Wan and Yoda and Bail Organa took Padme there after the confrontation on Mustafar between Anakin, Padme, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. In which case, Anakin was left burning alive by Obi-Wan on the side of a lava bank. And we all know that story. So, Luke was taken into Obi-Wan's exile on Tatooine, where coincidentally Anakin Skywalker grew up as a child before being inducted into the Jedi Order via Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi during the events of Phantom Menace. Luke Skywalker was raised by both his aunt and uncle, Beru and Owen Lars. Beru and Owen were the sort of adopted siblings of Anakin Skywalker when Anakin's mother, Shmi Skywalker, was bought, freed from slavery, and married by Klieg Lars, or is
Klieg,
yeah. I just wanted to make sure I was saying that right. And she married him before she was taken and tortured by Tusken Raiders. So, raised by them in the planet of twin suns, just like his father before him, Luke Skywalker grew up as a moisture farmer under his aunt and uncle, under the watchful eye of Obi-Wan Kenobi. In the year 19 BBY, Luke ended up leaving with Obi-Wan Kenobi after some events on a mission to Alderaan under the request of Leia Organa, his unbeknownst twin sister, to help the planet of Alderaan and help the rebellion against the tyranny of the Empire. So, they end up meeting Han Solo and Chewbacca in Mos Eisley, and they board the famous Millennium Falcon. They get spirited away over to the Death Star, where they meet the Princess Leia Organa on the Death Star as a prisoner, coincidentally, having put them on this mission in the first place to Alderaan, because the Death Star was still in the star system of Alderaan, having destroyed Alderaan moments earlier. So, Luke helps, as we know, free Princess Leia Organa. They escape the Death Star, and then Luke helps destroy the Death Star after joining Red Squadron of the Rebel Alliance during 0 BBY, which is the Battle of Yavin. So, in case you don't know, I've been using the term BBY. BBY is a term to displace the years.
It's just like BC and AD for us.
BC and AD for us. So BBY stands for before the Battle of Yavin. Whereas you'll hear this term here pretty soon, which is ABY, which is after the Battle of Yavin. So after the Battle of Yavin, about 3 ABY, Luke is a part of...
This one is... What is that from?
That is from the award ceremony immediately after the Battle of Yavin, where both Luke and Han Solo were presented with medals commemorating their heroics.
But for some reason, Chewie wasn't.
Yeah, oddly enough, Chewie was not presented with a medal. Neither was R2-D2 nor C-3PO, when they were all very much instrumental in saving. Well, R2, not so much C-3PO. He was standing around with Leia, chewing on their nails, watching everybody else fight in the Death Star. But this is a really cool piece. This is from our sideshow collection here at Order 66 Toys. Of course, we also have X-Wing Luke, we have Farm Boy Luke, and then of course we have Jedi Luke over here. But he's not Jedi Luke yet. We'll get there in a few moments. He's still got a couple years to go. So in 3 ABY, Luke Skywalker joins Rogue Squadron on Echo Base in the Hoth system, on the planet of Hoth. Shortly after, he ends up helping defend the planet of Hoth from the Imperial invasion after discovery via probe droids scattered across this galaxy to find hidden rebel bases across the galaxy. So after helping his rebellion friends escape the planet of Hoth, instead of regrouping with many of the rebellions that fired off in many different parts of the galaxy, and instead of joining the Falcon crew, which consisted of Han Solo, Chewbacca, Leia, and C-3PO at the time, Luke and R2-D2 went to Dagobah after Luke was instructed on the planet Hoth by Obi-Wan Kenobi's Force Ghost to receive training from Jedi Master Yoda. A Jedi Master who Obi-Wan claimed to precede him and also instruct him, which of course we learned Obi-Wan instructed him, was one of the instrumental Jedi Masters during the Clone Wars era, teaching Obi-Wan and many other Jedi across many years. So Luke discovered Master Yoda, who at this point was close to his 900 year of age.
I think he was like 940 when he passed.
Was he 940 when he passed?
940, 941, something like that.
Because when he was talking to Luke, he said, when 900 years old you be, not so good you would look, or something like that. I might be paraphrasing a bit. Anyway, aside from that, Luke received Yoda from training during the year 3 ABY.
He received Yoda from training?
Training from Yoda. Thank you. Yoda trained Luke in the ways of the Force as best he could, but Luke was much older. He's an adult at this point. He hasn't really received formal Jedi training up to his age yet, like most Jedi had before the rise of the Empire.
Dagobah Luke.
I do. I have a Dagobah Luke right here.
Yeah, it's hard to see in the biso. What?
Do we have a Dagobah Luke over there?
That's
anyway.
Fine.
So, however,
That one.
during this time frame, Luke faced some different trials. He learned some of the ways of the Force, such as Force telekinetics. But he also got to confront the dark side in the Force Cave on Dagobah. In which case Luke faced off against a Force vision of Vader using the lightsaber of Anakin Skywalker handed down to him by Obi-Wan Kenobi, kept after the confrontation on Mustafar. So when Luke received his lightsaber, he did battle against his Force vision of Vader, ultimately winning. But when he overcame it, he saw a reflection of himself in the dark side, potential that still loomed over him to become evil as well, such as Vader did. So as there is still good potential for light, there is still good potential for dark. But not long after this, Luke just continued his training with Yoda, at which point he felt Han and Leia in trouble through the Force. Against Yoda's advice and wishes, Luke left to go to Bespin, which was Vader's plan and trap all along, to catch the Force sensitive, who at the time he figured out was his son, in between that threshold, and laid a trap to help convert him over to the dark side and bring him before the Emperor. On Bespin, Luke did not quite fall for Vader's trap, because Vader's trap was mostly to imprison him and spirit him away over to the Emperor, but instead confronted and held his own against Vader pretty well until he lost his hand, became wounded, and Vader broke the truth that Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, was in fact Luke Skywalker's father, and Obi-Wan had misled him. Then again, that wasn't from Obi-Wan's perspective or point of view. From Obi-Wan's perspective, Vader is a different person entirely, having killed Anakin Skywalker. So after the events of Bespin, Luke ended up regrouping with the rebellion, and in the year 4 ABY, Luke, now as a Jedi Knight, here we have our Unleashed Luke for display of that, or we have our Sideshow Luke over here as well. Very cool, very nice pieces. So for ABY, Luke is now a Jedi Knight. He has constructed a green lightsaber from schematics he found in one of Obi-Wan's homes on Tatooine. And now his blade features a green kyber crystal instead of the blue one that his father Anakin had constructed. So very similar in design to Obi-Wan's hilt, with some minor differences, with a Skywalker twist. Very cool. Luke then helped his rebel friends such as Leia and Lando Calrissian and Chewbacca free Han Solo from Jabba's palace, where he was resting in carbonite. He helped fight the Rancor and killed Jabba's pet Rancor. Here we have that featured over here with our Toys R Us exclusive Black Series 3 3/4 Jabba and Rancor, which also features Luke Skywalker, C-3PO, and some other figures.
Complain guard.
This is a very, very special set. Very, very cool. And then, of course, not long after that, there was the planned Battle of Endor, where Luke participated with the ground team and eventually let himself become captured by the Empire in an attempt to redeem his father and bring him back to the light side. However, it was also his father's plan, bequeathed to him from the Emperor, to bring Luke before the Emperor and turn him to the dark side still. So they're both kind of playing their hands here. One's saying, hey, I can go to him and turn him to the light. The other one's saying, hey, bring him to me and I'll turn him to the dark. So who knows how it's going to go. Luke ultimately defeated Vader, and instead of giving into his anger as the Emperor requested, decided to throw away his weapon and underwent torture through the Empire, bringing Vader back to the light, where Vader destroyed the Emperor, as we know, and came back to the light with his dying breath, looking on Luke once more with his own eyes.
Now for the good stuff.
Now for the really good stuff.
Everybody knows all that. Everybody that's watching this channel has seen the movies. Now for the stuff that you might not have seen in the movies. But this is where we kind of diverge a little bit.
Let's jump over to Legends. So, some other stuff happens in Legends. For example, 10 ABY, not 10 years, so about 6 years after the Battle of Endor, we have the Dark Empire 2 storyline, where...
Dark Empire 1 and 2.
1 and 2. But in Dark Empire 2, Luke it finds the clone of Emperor Palpatine, who is still Emperor Palpatine. So, long story short, in Legends, the Emperor developed a technique where he could transfer his essence, his spirit, into another body. So what he did was he developed cloned bodies of himself for future use in case he was to fall. For example, when Vader threw him down the shaft in the Death Star and killed him. Before he fell and died in Legends, he transferred his essence over to one of these cloned bodies, which is younger and much more powerful than his older body. This body of his can conjure up giant, reality-altering force storms. These storms can go over hyperspace and even bring beings such as Luke to other places. For example, when Luke first encountered this,
it was because he was hearing the voice. He was hearing the pull of the dark side.
He was hearing the pull of the dark side, and then the Emperor conjured up one of these force storms and brought Luke to a cell where he imprisoned Luke, and then eventually forced Luke to join him as the Emperor's new apprentice. So Luke joined the dark side.
Keep in mind, this is after Vader has fallen, and Luke is pretty much the most powerful being in the galaxy, except for
under Palpatine at this point.
Right.
So Luke is part of the dark side now. He is the Emperor's apprentice. That's kind of scary stuff because Luke is our shining knight.
Why did he join the dark side?
So, he didn't join the dark side because he decided to turn evil. I know that was kind of misleading. He joined the dark side because he thought by being part of the light side, he could be an agent within the dark side and eventually overturn it and destroy Palpatine from within.
Well, he also felt that you could not truly know the Force unless you experienced both sides.
Which is a pretty decent view, but that's also the same trick that Palpatine used to help push Anakin over to the dark side in the first place, and also to save Padme by using the dark side of the Force. Long story short, Leia discovered Luke's apprenticeship to Palpatine and ended up joining Luke under Palpatine. Luke was able to use his connection to the light and Leia's connection to the light to eventually bring them both back, and in so defeating Palpatine as well. So Palpatine eventually got defeated and his clones were also destroyed. So good for everybody, good for the galaxy.
Palpatine's gone.
And for good this time. So that's
But during that timeline, there was before Dark Empire, but in that timeline, we were introduced to a character named Mara Jade, who was the Emperor's Hand.
So the Emperor's Hand is
basically a Sith assassin.
Is a Sith assassin. Now she wasn't the only one either, but
it's kind of the same position that Maul had.
Similar, except at that point he wasn't. He was just his direct apprentice, like Vader was. Actually, a more accurate persona to fit that description would be Asajj Ventress.
Right.
Over Maul. Maul was an assassin in a way, but he was also Palpatine's direct apprentice at the time. So Mara was during the reign of the Empire. Mara was what we now know pretty much as the Inquisitors. Was the Emperor's Hand. There was another Emperor's Hand named Lumia, Darth Lumia. After the fall of Palpatine, she decided to take up the mantle of Sith Lord as well. She erected her own apprentice, which was Karnor Jax, one of Palpatine's royal guards, in fact, who discovered his Force sensitivity and went under apprenticeship with Lumia. They both died. I think Lumia to Luke and Karnor Jax to another royal guard that was still loyal to Palpatine after Palpatine's demise.
We'll get more into all that stuff when we get into those characters. So.
But Mara Jade ended up being turned to the light by Luke, and in 19 ABY ended up marrying Luke. Many years later, after the Galactic Civil War has been concluded, there are Ujong Vong Wars, and they gave birth to a son named Ben Skywalker.
Of course, named after Obi-Wan.
Named after Obi-Wan.
Which is funny.
Because now we have, instead of Anakin, Jason Solo, and Jaina Solo, now we have Ben Solo in canon. But he is not Luke's son, he is
Leia
and Han's son. Their Mara is canonical or not, somewhere in between the 30 years of the
in between
Force Awakens and Return of the Jedi. It's still very possible in that large time span when Luke erected his
new Jedi Order.
Temple and Jedi Order that he took a wife and maybe fathered some children. It's still very possible maybe that Rey is his child, even though Rian Johnson threw it in there with Kylo saying her parents meant nothing, that they were just junkers that sold her for drinking money. Sure, but it could have been a misdirect just to get Kylo to throw her off. So
apparently JJ had much bigger plans. JJ Abrams had much bigger plans for Rey, and now that he's back in charge of Episode 9,
it's still very possible.
He's saying that he's going to go forward with his original plans.
Exactly, and hey, he's more than welcome to do that. He's in the driver's seat on that one. And I wish JJ the best. He did really good with Force Awakens. Rian Johnson did amazing with The Last Jedi, in my opinion. Even though
that's very divisive.
It's a very divisive film. You either loved it or you hated it. I haven't really seen any middle ground on it. It's definitely not without its faults. Specifically Holdo and Rose.
That's a whole nother video,
but
man.
Whatever. So let's get to that point in Luke's life where we're in the new trilogy. So Luke, at this point, it's the year 34 ABY. He is living on Octo, where he believes he discovered the first Jedi temple ever. So this ancient temple made of mostly stone on this island, inhabited by Octoans. I don't know if they've actually been
caretakers is what he called them.
He calls them caretakers, but I mean that's just a title.
So basically, this is where we find him at the end of Episode 7.
At the end of Episode 7, during the course of Episode 8, Luke Skywalker is living in his own exile.
Totally cut off from the Force. Now, this is all the canon stuff. Just let Jeffrey know somebody's out here taking measurements.
I'm losing my train of thought.
Right. At Episode 7.
Now, he's only in exile now because he believes, like the rest of the Jedi Order before him, like Obi-Wan, like Yoda, having trained Darth Vader, as he is quick to point out, he failed as a Jedi as well. He believes the Jedi is done because it's just, instead of being a force of light, it's a force of essentially failure. He failed to... In a moment of instinct, he failed to complete his Jedi temple. He failed to complete the new Jedi Order. He started it, and he trained a bunch of Jedi, which is rumored to include Jason Syndulla, the son of Kanan Jarrus and Hera Syndulla from Rebels, and also included his nephew, who ended up betraying Luke after Luke betrayed him and destroyed his temple and slaughtered half his students.
So in the movie, he says it's time for the Jedi to end. And through the movie, he talks about how the Jedi failed, how their ego got in the way, how they allowed Darth Plagueis, Sidious, Palpatine, to rise to power and
wipe them all out at the height of their power, which at that point in the galaxy, there were hundreds to thousands of Jedi present at the time. So that's quite a large number to just lose like that, especially when
to
that
basically
many people
be taken out by one
Force.
guy by Anakin.
Exactly, but then again, that plot was decades in the making anyway. So by the end of his lifespan on 34 ABY, Luke ended up having a change of heart, seeing the light and hope rekindled through the eyes of Rey, and realized that the teachings will go on also kind of beat into his head by Yoda when he decided he wanted to burn the books, and Yoda struck the tree with lightning anyway.
Not exactly a page turner.
It was not a page turner. Luke realized that there is more to failure than just having failed. That failure is still a big teacher, and that just because he failed doesn't mean he should give up and live in exile and let the Jedi die. That the Jedi can now live through Rey. So Luke joins the Force.
They don't have to be Jedi. They can just be good Force users. I think that we're going to end up with gray Jedi.
Well, that would be the Bendu. I'm hoping the Bendu makes a comeback from Rebels. The Bendu is the one in the middle. He is neither in touch with the light side nor the dark. He is just in touch with the Force. So I'm hoping we'll see some of that make an appearance, and maybe we'll see some experience with Luke, maybe encountering the Bendu at some point in the new announced Star Wars Resistance show that got announced this morning, which I think will be really cool. And maybe we'll even see Luke putting together his Jedi Order at the time, because in Legends he was successful at making his Jedi Order and trained many Jedi, including.
But he also had Jason, Jaina, Anakin, and Ben. They were all direct descendants.
There was that. Of course, he also trained famous Jedi such as Kyle Katarn. A lot of people love Kyle Katarn and were disappointed when they changed him into Jyn Erso and some other characters from Rogue One. But it's really cool to see the comparison between canon and Legends. So at the end of his rope, he ended up saving the Resistance on the planet of Crate. And at the end of confronting his fallen apprentice, Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, he told Ben that he is sorry he failed him. And in the end of it, disappeared from his Force avatar disappeared, and he joined the Cosmic Force, looking out on twin suns again at the horizon.
That doesn't mean that he's done, because we all know powerful Jedi come back as Force ghosts.
Exactly.
And from what I understand, Mark has actually signed on for another film.
He certainly has. So it's very likely in Episode 9 we'll definitely see Luke Skywalker as a Force ghost, very likely guiding Rey. I'm hoping that we'll also see Anakin's Force ghost at some point tugging at Kylo. There were some rumors that was possibly going to happen in Episode 8. I'm not disappointed that it wasn't in there, even though I was kind of hoping it was in there, because I thought that would be kind of cool to have Kylo looking over Vader's helmet and Anakin looking over Kylo, like, come on, man, what are you doing? You know, I went through this. If you admire me, why are you doing this other thing? Anyway.
What other characters do you guys want us to cover? I mean, we got an entire universe that we can do.
And of course, yes, at some point we'll do characters like Vader. One character I'm excited to do, maybe in a few weeks or so, would be a Lando Calrissian video. He's one of my favorites. I loved seeing him come back in Rebels. I'm looking forward to seeing him in Han. Maybe we'll cover him after Solo comes out.
I think the week of Solo we'll do, like the week after Solo comes out, we'll do a Han Solo video.
Ooh, that'd be cool. And then maybe we'll do Lando and a Chewie after that. Because now we also know how old Chewie is in the canonical Star Wars universe, because in the trailer of Han Solo they leaked that he was 190.
Yep.
Is that right? So doing some math there, some backwards math, we can figure out how old Chewie is. So thanks again for watching our Luke Skywalker Character of the Week video. For more videos like this, please comment. If you have character suggestions, please throw that in there.
Sorry, this one was a little long. I mean,
this one was a little long, but it's also our first one, and you know, there's other details to cover and other characters to talk about that are intertwined with these. And of course, we left out a lot. There's a lot of before he's even born stuff, and there's a lot more of Legends content than we even covered. Like,
the entire Yuuzhan Vong
crazy
war.
amount.
Yeah.
Or his Force Ghost time and legacy
Right.
with Cade Skywalker. I mean, that's some really cool content too. So anyway, yeah, for more videos like these, just shout at us. Let us know if you like them. Let us know if there's some things you want us to talk about more or talk about less. Some other characters, and don't forget we also have our toy reviews. So if there's something you want to see there, reach out to us. We also have our know your toy videos. So if there's toys there that you want to see us do a string of videos about, shout at us. Again, thanks for tuning in. From all of us here at Order 66 Toys, we're located in the Villages of Allen. We'll see you guys later, or we'll see you another time. May the Force be with all of you.
Have a good day, guys.